Hey guys, today we'll be updating our 2020 presidential election map with just 3 weeks to go, and this week I think we've seen the largest shift from last week that we've ever seen in our 2020 election maps, so definitely a huge shift to the left compared to just last week, as we'll see in just a couple of moments here. But first, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, at the very top of the description below that I launched just a couple days ago, so make sure you join that if you haven't. And starting off with the state of Alabama, we're going to go in alphabetical order as we typically do. Alabama, Trump leads by a whole 17.8%. This is much smaller than the margin that he saw in 2016. However, still a solid state for President Trump nonetheless. And my classifications are basically solid, 15 or more. Likely it's 7 to 15, lean at 2 to 7, and then tilt is between 0 to 2%. So the state of Alaska, President Trump currently leads in this state by 4.4%. Keep in mind this is a state that he won by over 14% in 2016, 14.4% 4 years ago. So this is an exact 10% shift to the left in the state of Alaska, a state that has been solid for the GOP for decades at this point. The state of Arizona, 11 electoral votes. Joe Biden leads in the state by a margin of 3.9%. This is a state that went to Donald Trump by a similar margin in 2016, and a state that has not gone to a Democrat since 1996. And then next, we have the state of Arkansas. President Trump leads in this state by a solid margin of 15.6%. This will be the last solid state in the South here for the president. Six electoral votes from the state of Arkansas plus 15.6 for the president. Still a sign of decline compared to 2016. And the state of California, 55 electoral votes. Joe Biden, of course, leads by 31.4%, one of the most solid Democratic states in the entire country. Next, we have the state of Colorado, where Joe Biden leads by 12%. This is much higher than what he has seen in the last couple of weeks. It dipped all the way down to plus 9% at one point, I believe. So Colorado looking good for Joe Biden. The state of Connecticut also looking very good for the former vice president. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 24.7% in the solid state of Connecticut for the Democratic Party. And then Joe Biden's home state of Delaware. He served as a senator from this state for over 3 decades before becoming Barack Obama's vice president. Delaware polling in favor of Joe Biden by a margin of 24.9%. And then the District of Columbia, we have polls out of Washington, D.C. now. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 72.5%. This is not surprising. Hillary Clinton won 89% of the vote here in 2016. So definitely D.C. very, very solid for Joe Biden, the most liberal district in the entire country. This is followed by the state of Florida. 29 electoral votes will also go to Joe Biden, who leads by 4.5%. That will be a lean margin. And what's really surprising is that the state of Florida is now polling better for Joe Biden than the state of Arizona. Now, Arizona did go to President Trump by a larger margin than the state of Florida, but Florida is always very, very close. No matter who is doing well in the state, this state is typically a Republican state. However, it can definitely vote for Democratic candidates. It voted for Barack Obama both times. It voted for George W. Bush only by 500 votes in the year 2000. And I believe it also went to Clinton both times. So this state has been pretty bipartisan in terms of who it's voting for on the presidential level. Senate and governor level, a little bit more lopsided for the GOP. However, Florida will go into Biden column as a lean state. This is followed by the state of Georgia, where Joe Biden leads by a margin of 0.9%. He's been leading in this state for quite a while now, a state that has not gone to a Democrat since Bill Clinton all the way back in 1992. So that's 30 years. 28 years to be exact, since the last time the state of Georgia has gone to a Democrat. And the state of Georgia went to President Trump by almost 6% in 2016 and is now a Biden state in the tilt column for the former vice president. We have another Biden state here, the state of Hawaii. Biden leads by a margin of 30.7%, so that's going to be very solid for Joe Biden as well. And then the state of Idaho, President Trump leads by a margin of 23.9%, so the third solid state for President Donald Trump, the state of Idaho. The state of Illinois, this is Barack Obama's home state, of course, a very solid Democratic state, has been for quite a while now. Donald Trump trails Joe Biden by a margin of 18.2% here. So that is going to be a solid state for the former vice president, the state of Illinois. And then next, we have the state of Indiana. This is Vice President Mike Pence's home state. Trump leads by a margin of just 11.6%. This is absolutely horrible for President Trump. He won this state by a solid margin in 2016. By around 19%, I believe, and this is his vice president's home state. So plus 11 in a state that's already typically a solid Republican state definitely not a good sign for Donald Trump. And I mean, the state did go to Barack Obama in 2008, but still, it's moved so much more towards the right. And then next we have the state of Iowa. Biden leads by 1% here, which is pretty surprising. So that's going to go into the tilt column for Joe Biden. And then the state of Kansas, Trump leads by just 6.7%. This is a state that's been voting for the GOP now for decades. In the state of Kansas, going for Donald Trump by just 6.7%. A solid state in 2016 now is polling in favor of the president with just a lean margin. So that's definitely a huge sign of decline for President Trump. Kentucky as well. Donald Trump may have a solid margin here, but it's just 18% in the state of Kentucky, one of the most conservative states in the entire country. The state of Louisiana as well, all the way down in the deepest of the South, Donald Trump leads by just 13.8%. This whole region is one of the most solid regions for the GOP and have been in the last 60 years, but now it seems as if the South is not as solid for Donald Trump as it has been for Republican candidates in the past, including Trump in 2016 when he won all of the South by a solid margin, as well as Indiana, as well as Kansas. So moving on, we have the state of Maine. Biden leads by 15.2% statewide. That's going to go into the solid column for Joe Biden. And then the first district, of course, very solid. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 32%. That's one of the most liberal districts in the entire country as well. And then the second district of Maine, that is currently polling in favor of President Trump by a margin of 5.3%, a state that a district that he was able to flip for the first time in over 2 decades. In 2016, Donald Trump will hold on to the second district of Maine. And then we have the state of Maryland. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 32.3%, neighboring the District of Columbia, of course, a very, very liberal district. The state, or not district, a very, very liberal state, the state of Maryland. I don't know what happened there, but the state of Maryland, 32.2% in favor of Joe Biden. And then the state of Massachusetts is next, the most liberal state in the entire country. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 37.2%. That's going to be solid for the former vice president, of course, the home state of Elizabeth Warren, and a state that Joe Biden was actually able to win in the Democratic primaries. Next, we have the state of Michigan. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 8%. That's going to go into the likely column. This was a lean state for Joe Biden in our last election map, but now it is a likely state for Joe Biden. So a huge surge here. He's seen a huge surge in basically all of the Rust Belt in the last couple of weeks. And Indiana, of course, has now become a likely state from a solid state in our last classification. The state of Minnesota, Joe Biden plus 9.2%. That's going to join Michigan, another likely state for former Vice President Joe Biden. And then the state of Mississippi, that's also going to be a likely state, but for Donald Trump, plus 12.1. Again, a solid state for Donald Trump in 2016 here, found in the Deep South, but is now only a likely state for the current president. The state of Missouri is next, Trump plus 5.5%. That's going to go into the lean column, joining the state of Kansas as well as Alaska, another solid state from 2016. This state has been the bellwether state if you were to go back 12 years ago, and then in 2008 lost its streak. It voted for John McCain by 0.3% while Barack Obama won the election. But before that, for almost 40 years, I believe, this state has voted with the eventual winner correctly. However, now Missouri has moved quite a bit to the right, but right now it seems as if it is moving to the left, a huge shift from 2016. The state of Montana, Trump only leads by 8.1%. This state is typically a very solid GOP state on the Senate, or not the Senate, on the presidential level. On the Senate and governor levels, it is a little bit more bipartisan, a little bit more split. However, on the presidential level, this is typically a solid state for the GOP. It was for President Trump in 2016. However, now the president leads by just 8.1% in the state of Montana. And then state of Nebraska, 5 electoral votes, split between 2 for the at-large and then 3 of its district-wide votes. So as you can see, the at-large vote currently is in favor of President Trump by 15.5%. So it's going to be solid for Donald Trump. The first district, Trump plus just 2%. That's very small for the first district of Nebraska. Historically speaking, that's a very small margin. Biden actually leads by 6.5%. In the second district, a district that President Trump won in 2016. Now he seems to have lost the second district of Nebraska. The third district is no polling data out of this district, but and is the most conservative district in the entire country, the most conservative district in the entire country. So the 3rd district of Nebraska, this is the only district or only state or district that we don't actually have polling data out of, but I'm going to put it into the solid Trump column because there's no way that the 3rd district is not going to be solid for President Trump. And then the state of Nevada, 6 electoral votes. Joe Biden leads by 6.9%, so very close to becoming a likely state for Joe Biden. A state that Trump was expected to win in 2016, but a state that Clinton was able to carry by 2.4%, one of the only states in which she actually did better than expected in. So following the state of Nevada is the state of New Hampshire, Biden plus 10.8%, a state that Hillary Clinton won by 0.3% in 2016. So definitely a great sign for Joe Biden, plus over 10% in New Hampshire. The state of New Jersey, Biden plus 19.1%. That's going to be solid for Joe Biden, 19% in New Jersey, followed by the state of New Mexico, which is surprising to see, but Joe Biden leads by a margin of 14.1% in New Mexico, so it's very close to becoming a solid state. I think if the election were to continue to trend in the way it has in the last couple of weeks, New Mexico may actually be a solid state for the Democratic Party for the first time in decades. So New Mexico polling very well. This state did used to be a Republican state. It has moved towards the left, and in 2016, Clinton won Colorado and New Mexico by around 5%. So these states, I think, are going to vote very similarly this time around, but New Mexico, I think, is going to go to Joe Biden by a stronger margin than Colorado. And then we have the state of New York, Trump plus 30.8%, no surprises here. New York, a very, very liberal state. This is followed by the state of North Carolina, Biden plus 2.9%. So North Carolina is now a lean state for the former vice president, one of the most important states for President Trump. He cannot win the election if he's not going to win North Carolina. So definitely a state that Trump has to win. And as you can see, Biden plus 2.9%. Things are not looking too good for Joe Biden or for President Trump. Very good for Joe Biden. And this state has already started early voting. It started accepting mail-in ballots pretty early, the state of North Carolina. And then I have North Carolina on here twice. I believe next is the state of North Dakota. So North Dakota, Trump plus 21.8%. I made a typo on my notes there, but the state of North Dakota is going to go to Donald Trump, 21.8%, a very solid GOP state. This is followed by the state of Ohio, where Biden leads by a margin of 0.7%. So it's going to be a tilt state for the former vice presidency because Joe Biden has been able to flip quite a few states here in the Rust Belt. States like Iowa and Ohio are now in the Biden column, as well as Georgia, which I think is a pretty surprising new addition into the Biden column. This is followed by the state of Oklahoma. Trump leads by a margin of 23.6%, very conservative state. The state of Oklahoma, so no surprises here. That's going to go to the current president. And then the state of Oregon, Biden plus 19.3%. So this state was actually a likely state on our last map, but now Oregon will be back into the solid Biden column, a state that Hillary Clinton did not actually win by a solid margin in 2016. The state of Pennsylvania, Biden plus 7.2%, is going to go into the likely column for Joe Biden as well. So another shift from being a lean to a likely state for the former vice president in the Rust Belt, following the state of Michigan. The state of Rhode Island, Biden plus 21.5%. That's going to go into the solid Biden column as well. A very solid state, the state of Rhode Island for the Democratic Party. The state of South Carolina, another surprising state here for President Trump. He leads by just 5.3%, a state that he won by a very similar margin to Alaska, plus 14% in South Carolina for President Trump just 4 years ago. And this state is now only a lean state. The state of South Dakota, solid for President Trump, of course, leads by 19.2%. That is a minuscule number for the president. Very, very bad sign for him. South Dakota, only 19.2%. This is one of the most rural, one of the most conservative states nationwide. The state of Tennessee, Trump leads by just 13.5%. Another surprise here. Very, very small margin for Donald Trump in the state of Tennessee. And then state of Texas, even smaller for the president, a state that has been solid for the GOP for decades. This is the GOP's most important stronghold state that is no longer solid for them. It went to Mitt Romney by a solid state in 2012. In 2016, it shifted drastically to the left, just plus 8% for Donald Trump. And now Donald Trump leads by a margin of just 1.5%. Again, Texas has gone closer once again. We may actually see Joe Biden leading this state in the next couple of weeks. So Texas, 30 electoral votes will go to President Trump, but still definitely not good for the president in the state of Texas. He's definitely underperforming basically every Republican. He's even underperforming John McCain. So horrible sign for the Trump campaign. The state of Utah, 6 electoral votes, Trump plus 12.5. That's also now in the likely column for Donald Trump as well. It was a solid state last time. This is followed by the state of Vermont, a very solid Democratic state. This is the home state of Bernie Sanders, very progressive state. Biden plus 31.8%, no surprises there. And then the state of Virginia, Biden plus 12.7%. This is a state that Clinton was barely able to win by around 4 or 5%, even though her vice presidential nominee Tim Kaine was from the state of Virginia, so definitely not good for Clinton in 2016. This is a state that the GOP has not won a statewide election in over a decade, so Joe Biden doing very well in the state of Virginia. The state of Washington, Joe Biden doing even better, plus 27.9% statewide in the state of Washington, so that's 12 electoral votes for Joe Biden. The state of West Virginia, Trump plus 25.6%, still much smaller than the 36% he was seeing in the summer, actually. So West Virginia definitely moving to the left just from a couple months ago. The state of Wisconsin, Biden also leads by a likely margin here as well, plus 7.2%. It's also going to go from being a lean to a likely state for the former vice president. So Joe Biden's been able to rebuild all of the blue wall, flipping them and becoming likely states for Joe Biden. Finally, the state of Wyoming, Trump plus 31.5%. And this is our new updated 2020 presidential election map as of the 12th of October. This is our new map, and this is the map that we have just 3 weeks and 1 day away from the 2020 presidential election. As you can see, a lot of catch up for President Trump to do. He's lost Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia. He's doing even worse in North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona. Nevada's surging for Joe Biden right now. New Hampshire has seen a huge surge and increase in support for Joe Biden in the state of New Hampshire. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania have moved up from becoming lean to likely states. Minnesota is now more solid for Joe Biden than ever, so a lot of room for improvement for President Trump. The only battleground state in which the president actually leads in right now is the state of Texas, 38 electoral votes. So the election is not looking good for him right now. Definitely Joe Biden is on the pathway to victory at this point in time. So if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like down below, as well as subscribing to my channel. Join my Discord server, of course, if you have not. It is, of course, at the very top of the description below. Leave your thoughts in the comments below as well as your suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me in the future. And I will see all of you guys in the next video.